We are back with another Chicago Bears pregame show, playoff edition, right here on the Kanika Sports Channel. It is the Bears versus the Rams at Soldier Field on Sunday Night Football, and we're talking about it all right here. But first, we need you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for our mascot, Frexy. Look at her in that orange getup, everybody. She's a huge Bears fan. The Bears are in the second round of the playoffs. No one thought they would be here at all when this season started. And here we are, staying alive, everybody. Home game, too.
I'm already sweating for the Sunday game.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it's very cold over here in the desert. So I
can
just imagine.
You know, it's kind of interesting. You bring up a great point. The weather has sort of become the topic of the hour, if you will, for this game. It's dominating all the discussion as it comes to Bears Rams and what's going to happen. And we're going to talk about how exactly important the weather actually is in my keys to victory, everybody, which is coming up in a little bit. But we have the X-Files to get to, of course. We have an injury report. And of course, wrapping it up, the odds and ends and our predictions for this game. Nika, will you please cue the music for some X-Files, everybody? We are going to kick off this X-Files with the official Chicago Bears X account. Kind of caught me off guard with this because if you've been following the show, you'll know that they kind of come out with monthly installments. And the previous episode just come out about the remainder of the season. And yet here we get a special episode of just the whole Packers game experience. 21 minutes and 27 seconds total. Go check this out if you have not seen this. This is definitely worth your time. You'll get to hear the Jeff Joniak radio broadcast of a lot of the great memorable plays from this game. And then you'll also hear Bears players and coaches talking about this game. It's like its own Hard Knocks episode in a way about just the Bears-Packers game.
And it's only 20
if you
minutes.
want to make a correlation. It's on YouTube. It's on X. You can find it on most of the social channels for the Bears, the full episode.
That's really cool.
And number 18 was awarded the Nickelodeon Most Valuable Player this week. Nika, congratulations to our quarterback. You might remember earlier this year, Colston Loveland got the Nickelodeon Most Valuable Player award. I think it was against the Cincinnati Bengals. Colston Loveland, when he won, he got a little green slime bat. Do you remember that?
I do, but it was also warmer outside.
Yeah, it was. Caleb did not get a green slime bath here. He actually looks very solemn in that picture, very businesslike, if you will, and as it should be because we got a really big game this weekend. Speaking of the QB number 1, Caleb Williams, he has now been immortalized as an ice sculpture in downtown Chicago.
Is that a full-size ice sculpture? Like a full size of his body? Like 6, whatever he is?
It might even be a little bit taller. You might be onto something because I'm looking at people standing and posing next to this ice sculpture, and that's kind of like what it's for. I also think it's a little bit of psychological warfare against the Rams. Look, man, the ice ain't melting here. It's standing day after day.
But that's also his name, Iceman.
Of course,
so it's very fitting.
It's very, it's all kind of coming together. It all plays a part.
Yes, we all drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yes, indeed. Why not? I mean,
of course.
This is all
extra football.
We're playing with house money, as a lot of people keep saying.
Yes.
The Bears are playing with house money because no one had them in this position, including us. I think
true.
Most people had them at 9-8, 10-7 on a good year. You know, if things really went their way. So not only did they finish 11-6, like well ahead of expectations, now they have a playoff win under their belts as well, and a divisional round matchup this weekend with the Rams.
And the bragging rights over the Green Bay Packers.
All right, well, if you take a picture with Caleb Williams and the ice sculpture downtown, please send it in to us. We would love to take a look at these and share some of them on our show. All right, everybody?
Thank you.
You know the drill. We're over here in the desert. If I was in Chicago still like I was in 2019, I would be right there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I would make us do it. All right, well, that is the X-Files for this week's show. For the pregame edition, at least, we will, of course, grab some reactions to all of the postgame from this Bears-Rams game Sunday night and have that for you on the Bears-Rams postgame show Monday. It is time to move on to another injury report right here on the Kanika Sports Channel, Chicago Bears pregame show.
Ready?
Yes, Doctor.
I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea there, Doctor.
Damn it, man, I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician.
I'm going to start with the Rams in this injury edition here because as I look at the injury report for the Los Angeles Rams, I see QB number 1, Matthew Stafford, listed on here, Nika. Now, he has a right finger issue. I believe it's his middle finger or his index finger. I'm not exactly sure. Does it say?
I know it says just the finger. It wasn't specific enough.
Which finger is it?
It's a very good question because it's his throwing hands, that's for sure. It doesn't say it suffered a finger injury, but the x-rays were negative and he's expected to be ready. That's all I got.
You know, it's really poor when you open up an article from Sports Illustrated in 2026 and it doesn't tell you exactly what finger is injured in a story about his injury.
I know. Terrible.
It's really bad. This was posted January 15th, written by Richie Witt. I don't mean to sell you under a river, Richie Witt, but what are we doing here, man? Like, you're supposed to inform. Your job is literally to inform, and you're not telling me which finger it is.
Half-ass reporting.
And I don't remember.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's his throwing hand.
He sprained a finger on his throwing hand in last weekend's wild card win over the Carolina Panthers when he hit his hand on a defender's helmet during his throwing motion. I saw this play in real time. He admitted that the pain wasn't pleasant. Stafford said he doesn't expect to wear any extra protection on his hand. You know,
it's a banged up finger.
We'll see. I'm on the fence with it. I don't think he's 100%. Actually, and I think he's downplaying it on purpose, and they're listing him as a full participant to make it look like it's a big nothing burger. But I think there might actually be a little bit of discomfort, if you will, when he throws the football.
Okay.
I'm assuming he might get some kind of shot before the game for pain relief.
Sure, but you also have to remember this is the end of the season, their final games, either team. So you're going to put everybody on the field.
Caleb Williams rolled his ankle last week.
Yeah.
You know, we all saw it. We saw him hobble off the field. Scary moment if you're a Bears fan. And yet he's not on the Chicago Bears injury report at all. So
psychological
I feel
warfare.
like this is not a regular season kind of injury, but because of what's predicted to happen with the weather in this game, I don't know. I feel like Matthew Stafford might have some issues with his hand. But I think anybody that has any small or nagging kind of injury might have an issue in this game. I mean, you're going to have to get really loose if you have any kind of hamstring injury or groin injury or anything like that that's borderline troublesome, right? Like, it'll seize up so quickly in this weather.
You have to stay loose when you are waiting for your turn, like defense or offense when they swap. You have to stay loose during that time. Stay by the heaters, whatever, because that's where you get stiffen up. And when you go back on the field, you might get injured.
Well, it's just I think a tough game for anybody with small nagging injuries, and at this point of the season, it is going to be a significant factor, the weather, and I just don't know what's up with his hand. You know, I wouldn't plan for it to be a big issue, but I also wouldn't put it past it to necessarily become a thing.
Well, he's a professional, so
he is, and he's 37. He's a 15-year veteran.
I'm sure he played through some injuries during his career.
I'm sure. Meanwhile, for the Rams, just a couple other injury updates. Kevin Dotson on the offensive line is limited right now, but he is expected to play in this game. That's a big boost for the Rams offensive line. And then Poona Ford, the nose tackle on the other side on defense, is limited on Wednesday, but was back to full on Thursday. So I would expect him to be playing in this game. So the Rams get some help up front, both on offense and defense. That's going to help, at least in this kind of a game, because the Bears, as everyone knows, have had a lot of trouble getting any pressure on the quarterback this year. All right, let's turn our attentions to the Bears, everybody, and let's look at what's going on with them. The injury report itself looks fairly clean if you're a Bears fan, and I can sense a lot of optimism. Now, the one thing that's not on here is the two big injuries that we suffered last week, because both Ozzie Trapillo and TJ Edwards were placed on IR this week, injured reserve. So they don't even show up on this injury report anymore. And yet I would argue that they are both huge losses for this Bears team coming into this game. Ozzy Trapillo especially had really come into his own at left tackle, and now we're going to have to go back to Theo Benedict with Braxton Jones being like the backup swing O-lineman right now. I guess you got to hope and pray that unit can hold together right now, everybody, because it's been such a strength for the Bears through this first season with Ben Johnson, and really coming out of the bye week, I think, is when the Bears running game showed what they're capable of this season. So we're really going to need that unit to gel again quickly with Theo and with Braxton Jones as the swingman. Something to keep an eye on. The TJ Edwards injury is interesting to me because as much as I don't like to see anybody go down with an injury, and I think TJ Edwards is a important part of the Bears defense, I also think DeMarco Jackson was getting shafted on playing time a little bit, and now he's sort of forced to play.
Okay.
And, the Bears defense, after TJ Edwards went out against Green Bay, shut them down. And I don't know if that's a personnel issue or if it's just that they decided to start playing tougher in the second half, or if there's more to it than that. It's interesting to me. Again, not taking anything away from TJ Edwards at all, but you can't just ignore that happened either. And there's been a lot of people calling for DeMarco Jackson to see the field more. I don't think he played against the 49ers.
Well, he's going to have a chance Sunday.
He definitely is, and good things come to those who wait, right?
Absolutely.
The Bears are also going to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson back for this game.
Oh, that's good.
Good old C.J. G.J. He had a concussion, so he's back.
Oh, yeah.
And I like this for the Bears because he's a little bit of an edgy player. As long as he keeps his emotions in check, which he has for the most of his time with the Bears, I would say, so far this season, then I expect him to be a boon for the Bears in this game. And who knows? With the way things are going and with the Rams' offensive capabilities, maybe, just maybe, there will be some creative usage here with putting in some extra cornerback, safety type players, defensive backs to replace TJ Edwards, if you will. And we'll roll with 2 linebackers and 5 defensive backs instead of 4 and 3. Yeah, who knows? Get creative, Dennis Allen. I like the idea of combating speed with speed, and I don't think anyone can deny that the Rams are a fast-looking team, man. They put up points and they put up yardage.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all I got on this injury report for your Chicago Bears. Let us turn our attention to the Kenny's Keys to Victory. And yes, that is me. And I've got some keys to victory for you all. And let's start with that weather, Nika, shall we?
Sure. Everybody's talking about it.
Looking at the AccuWeather forecast for Sunday evening, 1:18 on the calendar, I am showing 17 degrees, a real feel of -8. A wind southwest of 21 miles per hour, gusts reaching 44 miles an hour, 67% humidity. So a little bit of a trapped warmth for the faithful. But nevertheless, it is going to be cold outside. Cold. Damn, this reminds me of those mornings when I would walk from Union Station or Ogilvie Station over the bridge to Halstead Street. And boy, oh boy, was it cold, everybody.
And then the wind hits you on that bridge, and it is cold.
Yes, it's almost like, you go over the bridge, which is over the main downtown expressway in Chicago, and that gust of wind will just whip through there like a wind tunnel almost.
Oh, yes.
They call that the Hawk in Chicago, where I come from, because it's the hawk is flapping its wings, and it's like a never-ending stop of wind.
I live in Chicago. I never heard of that.
Wow.
I know.
Well, it does go back to my college days.
Okay.
I that's the first time I heard it. Like, whoo, the hawk is out today, somebody said. And it kind of stuck with me.
And it's not the Black Hawks either.
It's not. All right. Well, here is weather.com's forecast. It says 20 degrees during the day with a little bit of snowfall, perhaps. So we'll have that potentially beforehand. We had snow before the Green Bay game as well. And then it says night, 2 degrees, cloudy skies early, then partly cloudy after midnight. So this is getting a little deeper, but
it could change.
Nevertheless,
by Sunday.
it is going to be frigid out there. Now, the Bears are practicing outside this week, and it's not quite 20 degrees during the day yet, but I believe it's cold.
That's fine. You get your body acclimated better.
Yeah, this seems to be a strategy because Kevin Byard, the captain for the Bears, told the media that Ben Johnson has taken away the heaters from practice this week as a way to help the Bears' bodies get acclimated to the conditions.
Okay, and meanwhile, the Rams are doing what?
Well, the Rams, here we have a picture of QB1 Matthew Stafford from the LA Rams account practicing in what I was seeing as 77-degree temperatures in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So the Rams are preparing for this one just as they normally would, and they are basically telling the media that they're not concerned about this and that they will adapt as the game goes on. Now, Tom Brady was on the Colin Cowherd show yesterday.
Okay.
And I happened to catch some of it, and I wanted to share what he said because Colin Cowherd asked him about playing in the cold. And Tom Brady, playing for the New England Patriots in Foxborough for so many years, he had some really interesting things to say about this. The first thing is he said that he felt like practicing in Foxborough, the way the Bears are practicing now, gave him an edge. It's like that's how they practiced. Belichick was the same way. He took the heaters away and stuff, like all the comforts, and made them go out into the cold and get used to the elements and get their bodies kind of physically ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he felt like that helped. And so maybe this is a mistake by the Rams. I don't know, to not like just come here early and practice a little bit.
I don't know. Don't give him ideas.
Well, I mean, they're out of time anyway. Yeah. But the other thing that stood out to me is this, because a lot of people have pointed out that Matthew Stafford played for the Lions for so many years, and he obviously played outdoors against the Packers and the Bears and probably tons of other teams in October, November, December, and so on, January. Well, the Lions didn't play in January when he was quarterback, but Matthew Stafford has not played in a game below 45 degrees this year. And Tom Brady said when he went to Tampa to end his career that he was surprised how quick you lose it when it comes to playing in the elements, because practicing in the warm weather in Tampa did not prepare him as well as practicing in the cold weather in New England, at least according to what he said yesterday. So these 2 points jumped out at me a lot, as like, for everyone saying Matthew Stafford's done this before, it's like, yeah, they actually played in a snow game in the playoffs last year in Philadelphia. And how'd that work out for them? Not great. Anyways, lots of talk about the weather here, and I don't want to hang too much on it. I just want to see an entertaining football game that hopefully the Bears win. That's really what I want to see. One last thing, though, about the weather that I will bring up is I feel like the Bears' special teams are going to have an edge in this game if they've been practicing all week in this. Think about it. Punts, high balls in the air, wind, maybe taking the ball, is warm-ups before the game time in Chicago enough to get acclimated? Or is having done it all week going to work out better for the Bears? Kicking. We've seen Cairo, and we've seen the Packers come in here and flub it up last weekend. So, I mean,
the wind will be a factor.
I don't rule out how important special teams might be in this game. All right. Well, the next key to victory is the coaching matchup in this game. And can Ben Johnson outduel Sean McVay, the offensive wizard of the LA Rams, I guess, who makes it all happen underneath the hood? I want to start this with Colin Cowherd, actually. He said Ben Johnson is the next Sean McVay. And the point here is that there is a rivalry that is forming here in the minds of the media, at least, between Ben Johnson and, let's just say, Kyle Shanahan's family tree of coaches.
Okay.
I'm, of course, speaking of Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, and his brother Mike LaFleur, who, by the way, Mike LaFleur is the offensive coordinator for your LA Rams, everybody. The brother of the Packers head coach. We're going to see another LaFleur this weekend at Soldier Field, folks. There's been a little bit of rubbing in the media. They were asking Sean McVay, are you going to reach out to Matt LaFleur? And he kind of hinted like, well, maybe. And then he kind of said like, no, we do our own thing here. But really, most coaches were respectful towards each other so far with the media. Ben Johnson saying Matthew Stafford was one of the toughest players he's seen, and he respects Sean McVay for his winning ways. Sean McVay, on the other hand, says he studied Johnson really closely going back to his time with the Lions and praised both his philosophy and flexibility in applying those foundational principles to different types of quarterbacks. That's from Stu Jackson, who is a beat reporter for the NFL.com and covers the Rams. I noticed that Stu Jackson, by the way, did something really good and said that on his Twitter X bio that even though he works for the Rams, his opinions are his own and works for the NFL. So I thought that was really good of him to do. We see a lot of beat reporters who work for teams and work for the leagues, whether it's MLB, NFL. Not all of them put that on there, and I think they all should.
Yeah.
They all should.
Follow the money.
They are
Who is
supposed to
paying
have
you?
independent thought that is not corrupted
Yeah.
by access or worried about repercussions or backlash from the team or from the NFL league. And he needs these people that cover the teams for the league and for the teams need to be able to operate independently and have their own thoughts. All right. Well, the biggest thing I want to point out with this coaching matchup between Ben Johnson and Sean McVay is pointing to this little coach timeout usage chart that was posted by Tom Bliss, who's a data analyst with the NFL, actually. And he posted this chart, how NFL coaches use timeouts. And I want to go back to a conversation you and I had off camera during the Bears-Packers game when I said, man, Matt LaFleur seems to use timeouts willy-nilly sometimes, nonchalant. I don't like it. Let's just call it timeout. And it happens in like the first quarter or early in the second quarter or maybe early in the second half, third quarter. And the NFL world we come from and live in, especially in the playoffs, it's like you got to save your timeouts for the end of the game.
Sure.
You have to. You never know when you're going to need those timeouts. If you just burn them willy-nilly, it can come back and bite you in the ass. And well, we actually kind of saw Matt LaFleur botch this timeout last week against the Bears, and then they had a delay of game penalty coming out of that timeout, pushed them 5 yards back. Packers missed a field goal. You know the rest. The rest is history.
Eberflus got fired for bad clock management.
He absolutely
one of the
did,
reasons.
everybody. If you remember the end of the Bears-Lions game on Thanksgiving last year.
It was one of the reasons he got fired.
It did, or it was, I should say. So the reason I bring that up is because if you look at this chart, you'll see that a lot of the Kyle Shanahan family tree ranks poorly when it comes to clock management,
Okay.
including Sean McVay. So I'm just wondering if we will see that play a part in this game at all as we get on with it, because Sean McVay actually is ranked worse than Matt LaFleur
really?
is by one slot. He's ranked
Okay.
third worst at managing the clock.
Who is number one?
Sean Payton of your Denver Broncos, everybody. So,
Wow.
I mean,
and yet they are number one seed.
yeah, and I think it's offensive arrogance.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel's right there, number 5. I mean, you're seeing, and then Kyle Shanahan, 7. So 4 of those coaches from that tree are in the top 7 as far as being bad
Clock
with
management.
timeout clock management and, well, unnecessary defense and unnecessary offense. It means you're calling timeouts when you shouldn't be, and that you have a personnel issue or you have like a mental breakdown on the field and you got to get out of it so that you don't get burned for 60 yards on this play or something.
So they go willy-nilly, basically.
Exactly. So this was really not surprising to me to see Matt LaFleur on this list, but to see all the Kyle Shanahan coaching family tree up here on this list, I feel like it's offensive-minded arrogance.
It is.
That like, oh, we don't need to play by the same rules because we're going to score so many points and it doesn't matter.
It's not gonna
And I'd
affect
rather
us.
get out of a bad play and burn a timeout than save it for a rainy day. When how many of these games are so close at the end, Nika? Do you think the Packers wish they would have had maybe 1 or 2 more timeouts before that final drive? They had 1 timeout left against the Bears with 1:43 on the clock.
I'm sure they wish they had one extra.
Yep. I bet they do. All right. Well, the last note about the coaching I want to say is that can each head coach keep their emotions in check? Because this is sort of looking like there's some bad feelings between Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur after the game last week. And we saw some of the fallout from that. It took up a large part of the establishment media conversation. Was Ben Johnson inappropriate? Blah, blah, blah. But is that rivalry now going to extend to Sean McVay and to Mike LaFleur, the brother? And are they going to be able to keep their emotions in check, I guess, on both sides? If there really is some heated animosity here, I'm kind of curious about that. You know, we saw Ben Johnson last week, super aggressive on fourth down in the first half of the game. And while I understand the desire to keep the ball out of Jordan Love's hands at that moment, because the Bears could not go down any further in that game, I understand it, but I also will say that's kind of like psychopathic behavior there. Like,
well, high risk, high reward at that point. And you have to put everything on the line. This is your last game of the season or postseason. You got to put everything out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You either make it or you don't. That's it.
100% agreement, Nika. 100%. And, well, the Bears are going to need every inch of it this week against this Rams team because they are no joke, folks. The last key to victory is to just take a look at the Rams offense here. And we have the Caleb Williams, Matt Stafford quarterback matchup in this game, youth versus experience, and 2 former number 1 overall picks, Nika. 1 from 2009 and 1 from 2024. 15 years separate these 2 men in their NFL careers, literally. Wow. And yet they are both doing magical things on the football field. This is from the NFL on CBS. Caleb Williams and Matthew Stafford were incredibly clutch this Saturday, and they posted this graphic: quarterbacks with 2 or more passing touchdowns while trailing in the fourth quarter of a playoff win in the last 20 years. And they joined both of them last week, a club here with Patrick Mahomes, Eli Manning, and Tom Brady, who all did it in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady did it twice. He did it in a AFC championship game as well. But Caleb Williams and Matthew Stafford both join these 3 quarterbacks since Brady did it twice. Crazy statistic here from last weekend's wild card weekend. Well, Matthew Stafford, I would have to give a little bit of an edge to, actually, in this matchup with his experience. He already has a ring. I think he has a little bit of an edge coming into this game. I also feel like if our offense goes down 21-3 at halftime against this Rams team,
it's over.
We are not going to be able to come back like we did against the Packers. Sean McVay will not let it happen. He will not take his foot off the gas and play not to lose like Matt LaFleur. Look at these 2025 numbers for your Rams, folks. First in points per game at 30.5. First in yards per game at 394.6. So basically 395 yards a game. They put up 30 points and 400 yards a game. You know, that's what you're going up against. They control the clock. They have it for about 30 minutes a game. And they are a tough opponent. And, oh, by the way, the Rams do things that a lot of Bears opponents haven't done this year. They are 5th in the NFL in turnover differential. How many times have we seen the Bears just dominating this stat week after week after week? Well, at least we get turnovers. But here you have a Rams team that actually gets turnovers too. Yeah. They are 6th in the NFL in interceptions. You know, we were 1st. So it seems like we haven't played a team that ball hawks quite like this in a while this year. They also put pressure on the quarterback. So the sack numbers are high. I'm a little bit scared about this matchup on paper, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so
that's why the weather is a factor here and how hard the Bears can hit. And I don't think Rams ran into a team as the Bears are.
Yeah, another reason why I'm glad the Bears are practicing in the elements is because I just think it makes and dishing out those initial hits in a game all the more important.
Because you do feel them in the cold weather twice as much.
You will, 100%. As someone that literally played himself in the Midwest in some of this weather sometimes, yes, you will feel it. A couple other things about this game that I want to point out. Can the Bears use that weather to their advantage and build a lead? I feel like it's been since forever since the Bears actually had a lead in a game at halftime, right? And I'm just curious if the Rams come in overconfident a little bit in this game, and if the Bears can use that to their advantage and actually build a lead in a game for once, and what would happen if they did that? You know, can the Bears play from ahead is a question I wrote down. I'd like to find out personally, but can they play from ahead? What do you think they can?
I'm sure they are capable, but it hasn't been their MO for this season. Maybe next season. I don't know. I don't see them changing it for this game. And the weather will play a factor whether they can score quicker or not.
Well, I guess if the game is close at the end, you got to like the Bears, right? The Bears offense in the fourth quarter this season, including the playoffs. This is from @NFL Researcher on X. Points per game, first. Points per drive, first. Total yards per game, first. Total yards per play, first. Giveaways a game, first. Everything is first. They're the best team in the fourth quarter offensively in the league.
But
and
there's
in the
four
postseason.
quarters. There's not just one fourth quarter. There's 3 quarters before
I know.
that.
And they're going to need to play at least 3.5 of those quarters, I think, to hang with the offensive Rams, weather be damned. You know?
Exactly.
At least you got to plan for that ahead of time. And I think they should come out and game plan for a 49ers style game offensively. Be prepared to score, folks.
I hope so.
All right, well, speaking of the 49ers, I got a bonus key, Nika. The 49ers play at Seattle on Saturday, and I am wondering if the 49ers can win this game. By the way, Brock Purdy is undefeated in his career at Seattle, 4-0. If the 49ers win this game, the Bears could host the NFC Championship game with a win against the Rams.
All right, let's go. Let's
And
go 49ers.
does that
this week.
give any extra added motivation for the Bears? I know you can't look ahead, but it does make it feel a little bit more magical, right? Like if you win that game Sunday night, everybody in that crowd knows that they're coming back again next week for more. And
Of course.
it's going to continue the celebration, everybody. All right. Well, that is all of Kenny's keys to victory. Let me know what I missed this week. I know we didn't talk a lot about defense, but we did a little bit during the injury report, actually.
Sure.
So go check that out if you haven't watched it yet. But in the meantime, we are going to record some odds and ends next and take a look at what Vegas and the poly markets are thinking about this game. The odds and ends are not actually opening in the Bears' favor. We actually talked about this on our post-game show because Bears-Rams opened up at 4.5 points. It fell shortly after that to 3.5 points, but it still is a 3.5 road favorite for the LA Rams in freezing cold Chicago. The line has not moved since we talked about it last. It is still 3.5 points. I don't see it moving.
It's going to stick.
It's going to stick. The over-under, however, has dropped.
Oh?
I believe it was 51.5 on Monday, and it has now fallen, everybody, to 48.5. So it is dropped by 3 points, and that I think you can attribute to the weather itself. Now, when you look at the matchup odds here, the chance to win is favoring the Rams 64% to 36% right now in Vegas, and the spread is actually favoring the Bears. So people are putting more money on the Bears to actually cover the 3.5 points, which means we should expect a close game here, folks. And that will play into what I just said with the fourth quarter and the Bears in my keys to victory. Go check that out if you haven't watched it yet. But the Bears are literally the best team in the fourth quarter in almost every offensive metric this year, including the playoffs. So
The cardiac Bears.
they are. And I would just buckle up for another photo finish, folks. It's going to get crazy. Poly market. You know, they're right there with Vegas, 65% to 35%. So right around that 64-36 mark we saw in Vegas. That's just the money line. But I noticed with the spread, the money is favoring LA in poly market. It is more 50-50, but unlike Vegas, which has a big advantage to the Bears at 2 to 3, 67%, this is all a little bit more 50-50. That's kind of interesting. And if you look at the graph over time, it actually opened really big favoring the Rams at 73-27. Now, it did drop rather fast, but nevertheless, interesting details. And the over-under itself, we have at 48.5 on poly market, just like Vegas, 50-50, Nika. So a lot of split decisions here, except for the actual outright decision, which favors
The Rams.
the Los Angeles Rams. Having said all that, Nika, what do you think is going to happen on Sunday Night Football, everybody?
Well, it could be the Bears' last game.
I don't like the way you're thinking over there.
I don't either, but I hope the Bears win, honestly.
It's hopeful, isn't
It
it?
is hopeful at this point.
Well,
The Rams are a really good round team.
yes.
So
We see that they bring it on offense, and we
And
see that they
defense.
bring it on defense as well. That special teams, we'll have to see if that comes into play with the elements and the weather, like we talked about. I think if this is a close game at the end and it's high scoring, I actually like the Bears in this game
okay.
because of the Niners game, because I think they just played a game like this recently, that they're equipped to do so. And I think because they've been playing a lot of their games, minus that San Francisco game, probably in these kinds of elements over the last month. If you think about it, they finished the season at Green Bay, at home against Cleveland, then at home against Green Bay. Then they went on the road to San Fran, but then they were back home in the elements against Detroit. Then they had a home game last week against the Packers. So a lot of these games have been in this kind of windy, gusty, flurry, cold conditions. And it's going to be the coldest one yet. I think it gives the Bears an advantage in this one. As much as I think Bear weather doesn't matter, this might be the one time it does. Bears 41, Rams 38 is your final for this game. It's going to be a shootout underneath the lights in the cold. Buckle up.
Okay. Let's bring your sweaters, blankets, jackets, hats, gloves, everything you can.
Bring it all, folks, because you're going to need it when we stay an hour after the game and celebrate on field again with the team.
Wow. All right.
Yes, indeed. That's my last nugget here is let's get that bone broth on the sidelines, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Chicago Bears pregame show on the Kanika Sports channel. We love seeing the support that we're getting on YouTube right now. We have noticed. Thank you so much, and we will be here covering the rest of this playoff run by your Chicago Bears.